I see him in the background. We are joined with my man, Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Wilmer Leon is always one of my favorite guests. He's a radio host, political scientist, and nationally syndicated columnist. His show is Connecting the Dots. It takes place on YouTube. He also has another show on Sirius Radio. And I never
Inside the Issues.
Thank you, Inside the Issues. And I'm going to write that down right now so I can put that in my notes. Professor, how you doing, my man? You doing okay today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. As always, I'm always humbled when you call, because I have the utmost appreciation and respect for you and what you do and how you go about doing it. So being able to be a part of this for me is always humbling. Thank you.
Humbled is far too strong, but I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I guess if I have to start anywhere, I want to start with Epstein. I don't want to linger on Epstein. I want to get to another issue. But this is turning out to be a cluster F for the Trump administration. How it started. This is Kash Patel. Listen to Kash Patel for a moment. And it went from this.
News this morning about that. I got to get to that. You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
Yeah, because of who's on that list. Agreed, Kash Patel. So why now is Kash Patel defending and protecting pedophiles who are effective? What did he call it? Pederasts?
Pederast. I was not familiar with that word.
I'm not familiar with that word either, right? Fair enough. I'll go with it. Pederasts. Why is Kash Patel now throwing his body to protect pedophiles? So Donald Trump throwing his body to protect pedophiles. One last thing before I let you give me your take on this. Nobody believes, by the way, that there's nothing to see here, folks. Everybody believes that the Trump administration is burying that list. I suspect because there's one particular name on that list that they don't want to come out. But whatever, let's put that to the side for the moment. Nobody believes that Epstein, that there's nothing to see here. Everybody believes that this is a cover-up. And you get people like Alex Jones, who looked like he was about to off himself the other day when Trump effectively was like, yeah, we're not going to put out the list.
You go ahead.
So Trump is
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox.
Damn it, I hate
it's been
when this
getting a
happens.
lot of attention.
There's a bug
because
in Twitter.
I was asked.
Let me try to do this again. I have to restart it. Trump was finally asked directly about this. Because, inevitably somebody was going to say, well, Trump, dude, you said that you were going to release this list. Why aren't you releasing this list? We know that you were friends with Epstein going back for decades, but we're not going to bring that up. We're just curious why you don't release the list. This is Trump's response.
That's some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acasta, he allegedly said that he did.
Mm-hmm. That right there is
Years.
the smoking gun.
We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
And he passes it off to his pretty little liar, Pam Bondi.
Mm-hmm.
Does that dispel all of your suspicions? I mean, the president of the U.S. effectively saying, hey, why are you desecrating this moment? Bringing up Epstein. It was only yesterday that they came out and said there's nothing to see here, folks. Give me your thoughts on this. That's astonishing. Give me your thoughts.
Well, it's just more of the same. What we have really come to understand about Donald Trump is that he will say anything in the moment. He is such a transactional individual. All that matters is the moment. What will get me out of the moment? Or what do people want to hear in the moment? Reality is irrelevant. Honesty is irrelevant. Kash Patel, the now head of the FBI, told us when he told us there was a list. Pam Bondi told us there was a list. Yes. Anybody that would have any modicum of understanding of how somebody like Epstein would operate would have to know there's not a list. In fact, let me try to set this. There's not a list. There's a book. There's look, folks. This would be a list, okay? This would be a list. No. There's not a list. There's a book. This is a book. Okay? So one of the things that and I go through that for as silly as that is, and you all know by now how silly I can get. Because words matter.
Yeah.
So it would not surprise me if tomorrow a book falls out of the sky and then Donald Trump says, well, I didn't say there was a book. I said there wasn't a list.
Right. All right.
That's how this guy operates. And I'm embarrassed that I would actually start thinking like this guy. Is he in it? I don't know. But I can guarantee you, if he's not in it, there are people not only that he knows, but people that he's very close to. Maybe Don Jr.'s in it. Maybe Eric's in it. Maybe whatever her name is. Ivanka. No, what's his wife's name? Whatever her, maybe she's,
I never remember. Always
maybe
get it wrong.
she's in the damn book. I don't know. I don't know. But there are people. He is protecting people, and not just somebody's. And when we've known for years that Epstein is intelligence, and for those that may be wondering, and I think for those that may be wondering, Epstein's job was basically to entice individuals by appealing to their most base desires and then filming them, recording them, documenting them for later leverage.
Yes.
That's and because now here's one of the interesting things. Where is what's her name on this? Where is Epstein's assistant? Where is what's the woman's name?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Where is she in this?
She in jail.
Well, nobody. I mean, nobody's called her. You know, get Ghislaine Maxwell on the line. You know, how come she has not been able to leverage this? And so there's a book. There's a book in a safe deposit box in some bank somewhere. It might be on a hard drive. It might be on a thumb drive. It might be, but oh no, it ain't a list. It's a book.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to back that point up, I remember when this first came out, it's amazing how people forget so fast. And maybe it's that he was linked to Israeli intelligence, right?
Her
Ghislaine
father,
His-
that's why I brought her name up,
Yeah.
because her father was Mossad.
What is it, Jordan Maxwell, I believe his name is.
Her father was Mossad, and Mossad
And,
runs in the family.
And right here, Acasta, who was questioned, hey, why did you get this? What did it call? Pederast?
Pederasts.
Why did you get this pederast? Such a light sentence. That I've never heard of that word. Fair enough. That is the funniest thing in the world to me. Why did you give this pedophile such a light sentence? And he says, right here, is the Epstein case going to cause a problem for me during the confirmation hearing? So this was basically when they were trying to get Acasta to confirm, they were asking him, is this going to be an issue?
Mhm.
It says, is the Epstein case going to cause problems for the confirmation hearings? Acasta had been asked. Acasta had explained breezily, apparently, that back in the day, he had just one meeting on the Epstein case. He cut the non-prosecution deal with one of Epstein's attorneys because he, quote, had been told to back off, that Epstein was above his pay grade. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. He told his interviewers in the Trump transition, who evidently thought that this was a sufficient answer, and went ahead and hired Acasta. Now, I don't know why they thought that was a sufficient answer. I mean, even if it's like, even if you tell somebody, okay, with their intelligence, the moment that you tell the public that, the public is not going to care about that. But whatever. I'm pointing out that that's what Acasta told. That's what Acasta said. I gave the pedophile, which you can imagine prosecution has no vested interest to do. Meaning, I don't believe for a moment it's in the interest of the prosecution to give a pedophile a sweetheart deal. But I gave this pedophile, this apex predator, a sweetheart deal because I was told he was intelligence. This to leave it alone. All of that is forgotten. All of it is ignored. All of the witness statements from the women who came out and said, I was raped X number of times over the course, for days, and that there were so many girls that were trafficked there. Prince Andrew's losing his ability to sweat because he was in a war. All of this stuff is apparently just forgotten. That's amazing to me. How do they sweep this under the rug? When I used to be at the radio station, I used to ask, where are the Johns? I've been asking that for 3 years. Where are the Johns?
Mhm.
And apparently the Trump administration is saying there is no spoon. There are no Johns. That's amazing.
Well, first of all, I looked it up, and a pederast is or pederasty is a relationship between an adult male and a boy. So there is a pedophile is the relationship between an adult and a child. Pederasty apparently has to do with the relationship between an adult male and a boy. So
why is he assuming that these are just men or boys?
That's my next point, is why was that term specifically used unless the person using the term did not understand the strict definition of the term? And so when Acasta is told that Epstein is intelligence, and he's telling this to the Trump interviewers, maybe Netanyahu's on the list. Don't know. Maybe that's why Netanyahu flew to the White House Monday. To oversee, to be sure, hey Don, my behind is already in a sling. And so I mean, and this is not an accusation. I don't know.
Right.
But I think I've said this on the show before. Folks, all you have to do is ask yourself, does what they're telling you make sense? And the answer is no. This does not. How does a man who's supposed to be on suicide watch not get watched and then commits suicide? doesn't make sense.
And just for the audience, as a refresher, if you remember, he was put into a cage with this Herculean cop, this Hulk type cop that had murdered four
Mob
people and buried,
operative, I believe.
and buried four people in his backyard, apparently.
Right.
They said that he tried to commit suicide quietly, which is the fascinating thing to me. Now, to be fair, I have no experience committing suicide or seeing people commit suicide, so I don't know if they try to be very quiet when they do so. But Taglioni, I believe his name is, apparently slept through Epstein trying to off himself with a thing. All right, they put him in suicide watch. 2 guards went narcoleptic. 2 cameras were broken. Apparently, they found 1 camera, and they had 11 hours of footage or whatever, how many hours of footage, supposedly, that we have to take their word for it, is the video footage watching that particular cell. And like, this seems like a large series of coincidences. Now, in the words of Garrett on Star Trek, coincidences exist. I believe in coincidences, but I don't trust coincidences. I agree with you. They're asking you to swallow a lot. And look, I don't know if Trump's name is on that list.
I don't either.
But he's been friends with Epstein for decades. And we're supposed to believe that Trump knew nothing about Epstein's predilections, despite the fact that Trump at one point said he's a great guy. He likes women, he likes them young, which means that Trump on some level had some
predilection.
Either he knew,
predisposition.
Yes.
Propensity.
Yes. So I'm not saying
tendencies.
So I'm not saying Trump's name is on that list. I'm just saying it's very weird that they're asking you to swallow this. And look, man, even MAGA is like, you asked us to swallow a lot, dog. You asked us to swallow a lot of this.
And if I could also, for a point of clarity, for those who may not understand, suicide watch does not mean we're going to watch you commit suicide.
Right.
That's not what it means.
All right.
When they put you on suicide watch, it doesn't mean we're going to sit in our little control room with multiple screens and multiple cameras from multiple angles and watch you commit suicide. That's not what that means. At least that's not what it's supposed to mean.
Not typically, no.
No.
The most high-profile prisoner.
Oh, and by the by, don't forget, we have photographs. There are photographs of Donald Trump at some of these gatherings with Epstein, right? And women of varying ages, sizes,
dancing around,
right?
Dancing around,
hanging hand on buttocks, hand closely on buttocks. I'm not making that up. Since the prince is involved, then we must change our tone and grasping buttocks. Yes, I've seen the photos. That's all I can tell you. As most of us have seen the photos.
Man, all the excuses. Just think, when Prince Andrews did that interview, and you know what? That interview that Prince Andrews did is so illustrative of something. Like, there's a level of impunity that goes along with this level of wealth, where I guess in their minds you can get away with anything. I mean, for God's sake, the guy had an entire island for pedophilia.
Entitlement.
Yeah. And he does an interview. You would think that somebody would say, hey, don't do that interview. Like Paul Mooney, one time, we were at a concert, my ex-wife and this woman was sitting in front with this wild hairstyle. And Paul Mooney looked at her with all the love in the world and said, baby, Nobody loved you enough to tell you not to come out the house looking like that.
I've seen that. Right? It's called
My point is, nobody told Prince Andrews, hey, I know you're a prince and you think, you're entitled and people kiss your ass all the time. Don't do that interview.
Right.
I mean, he made the argument when I think it was Virginia Giuffre. She made the point of saying the amount of sweat, like he was sweating buckets or something like that. He sweat like the superhuman way, like he was an X-Man. And he said, I lost the ability to sweat. He said, when I was in the war, I was so scared that my sweat glands overreacted and I just lost the ability to sweat. And it's like, when you have to say that, you shouldn't do the interview. But that's what I mean, right? Like, it's very possible. No, go ahead.
It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. But I'm saying, in their circle, they may just deal with people who they pay. It's kind of like Elon Musk getting beat up in the White House. He was dealing with somebody who he wasn't paying, and the person didn't accept Elon Musk pushing him, and the guy punched him. Like, they're
blamed it on his son.
Right.
He said, my son hit me.
My baby boy punched me.
Punched me in the face.
Yeah. I'll let you close it on this before I move to the other one. This is outrageous, though. I mean, Tucker Carlson is flipping out. I'm talking to Sager, and he's like, it was supposed to be thousands of women, thousands of kids that were raped. And now they're telling us there's nothing to see here. Let's move on. And Tucker's like, he says, I'm not calling for a revolution, but if there's a revolution that needs to be had, it needs to be had over this. Like, you've got Tucker Carlson calling for a revolution.
Somebody, and I don't say this flippantly, as my father would say. I don't say this flippantly, and I don't say this in jest. Those 1,000 women, there needs to be a protest in front of the White House. All of those victims need to assemble in front of the White House.
Yeah.
And say, and with signs that just have numbers on them.
Oh man. Yeah.
And hey, I'm number 782. I'm number 973. Yes, there was a list. But again, it was a book. It's not a list.
This is what I was about to correct you. I was about to say, Dr. Leon, I'm sorry, it wasn't a list, it was a book. But you caught yourself.
Well, I'm channeling my inner Jamal Thomas. So anyway.
Yeah, man, I am blown. That's mind blowing. That's a betrayal. That is betrayal.
But this is, look, what was it called? PCAS? What is the organization that Bush started that Trump has canceled that was providing assistance to, what's it called? To African countries? I think it came under USAID.
I'm not sure.
Let me see if I have it here. PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR. And Donald Trump has canceled PEPFAR. And so now you have, thousands of people that were receiving AIDS assistance and medication and so on and so forth that nobody's really talking. There are just so many things that this guy is doing that are so detrimental to the world. This is just another, unfortunately, this is just another blip on the radar screen.
Go into that for me. I mean, look, I've always, even growing up, it was clear that Republicans were depraved in regards to their notions of humanity. I remember Ron Paul, and I like Ron Paul, actually, but I remember Ron Paul was on the debate stage, and they made this point of saying, okay, well, you don't think people should get health care. And so what do you think they should do? And the audience, the Republican audience, screamed, let them die on the streets. You could hear it on camera as they were screaming, let them die. Okay, that's pretty insane as a civilization. Where do you think that comes from? I mean, like, you could, I mean, I guess you could say some people are just depraved.
It comes,
But no, please.
well,
Answer that.
it comes from the same mindset that the Democrats have and displayed at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago when they would not allow a Palestinian on stage
Right there.
to speak about genocide.
Yeah.
Genocide. Genocide.
I know, but
They ignored genocide. It's this because, and where does that come from? It comes from the othering of the dehumanization of those that are not like moi. You're not like me. You're not human as I am. Hence the whole creation of the false construct of race.
yeah.
The construct of race was created in order to assist in the othering of Africans so that their enslavement could be rationalized. If all humans are created in the image of God, then how can I, as an alleged Christian, brutally turn someone from a human to property? Oh, I know the answer. They're not human. If you go back to the Virginia slave codes in the late 15th century in Virginia, one of the questions put before the court. If I had a minute, I could pull up the quote, but the point is, what happens to the circumstance of a baptized slave? Does baptizing a slave change, and I'm using the terminology of the time,
Yeah.
does that change the circumstance of the individual? The answer is no. You just have a baptized slave. Well, if you're supposed to be Christian and someone accepts Jesus through the process of baptism, that person then is supposed to be a Christian. So I just use that as one data point to support the argument that the answer to your question comes from an unfortunate age-old mindset in this country, whether it was from the colonial period or to today.
Yeah.
The othering. Miko Peled will tell you that when he was in school in Jerusalem, when he was in elementary school in Jerusalem, he was taught as part of the formal education process that Palestinians were not human beings. They taught that to Israeli children the same way white children in this country were taught Black people were less than human. The same way women in France were told in World War I that Black soldiers had tails. It's all part of the same sickness. It's all part of the same psychosis. Hence, there is no list. There are no victims. It's all part of the same. It's COVID. It's all part of the same disease.
But see, some of that stuff can be categorized as self-interest. Like, meaning, I don't.
Say it again.
Very rarely do I believe people honestly believe their ideology. Oftentimes, I think it boils down to self-interest.
Okay.
And ideology just gives them justification for the self-interest. Right. Hence, because you're right. If indeed, Black people are somehow less of God and you baptize them, well, that should make them a child of God. But it doesn't, because in reality, we need them to be slaves. Like the self-interest always comes through. The ideology is just kind of the fig leaf to allow that self-interest to come through. Same thing with the Palestinian at the DNC.
Well,
It is our stuff.
wait a minute, quickly to that point.
Please.
But I haven't thought this through, so I could be as wrong as the day is long. But I think, see, at some point, when you initially tell the lie, I think you're right. But once that lie gets repeated and becomes a part of the ethos of the culture, it's no longer ideology. It's now part of your belief system. Children grow up believing, white kids grew up believing that black people were inferior. That wasn't part of the child's ideology. That was part of the child's fundamental belief system. So hence, when you tell a lie long enough, it eventually becomes true. I'm making the point, at some point, it stops being ideological. And in the mind of the individual, it becomes factual.
But in case of Democrats, they didn't want that Palestinian on stage for
true.
self-interest reasons.
All right. I'm not debating that point. I'm just saying that when you tell the lie long enough,
I agree.
It moves out of the realm of ideology and starts to become, in the mind of the recipient, it starts to become fact.
Of the masses, yes.
Yes.
I get the sense, though, that people at the top, they know. They know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, meaning, like 3 a.m. between them and their God, they know. This is the James Baldwin thing, right? He said, you know that's a man. You always knew that was a man. We were always integrated.
And to Baldwin, I am projecting my own lack of sense of self-worth onto you.
Yes. Yes. Baldwin was fantastic morning.
Was a beast.
God, man, some of those speeches and his rhetoric. I guess my thing is, and I guess you did answer it, it's the othering. Even like, to me, it is a hallmark of a civilized country for everybody to have healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just kind of, we're a better country when people are educated. We're a better country when we have high-speed rail, when we are a shining city on the hill, in the truest sense of the word. That's not the way they think. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you brought up the Trump thing, where he's cutting the service for weather, cutting drugs going to other countries, cutting $1 trillion off Medicaid in order to give tax cuts to his cronies. Like, these cuts are going after the poorest, cutting SNAP benefits, meaning cutting the things that make a society a society. And in his mind, we're doing fantastic. I don't think that's the case, though. I mean, in fact, I would argue that Donald Trump himself, the humiliation that he is indicative of a rot in the society. Absolutely. In a way that,
he's not.
That wasn't what I wanted to go to. But
he's not the causation, and this is where I think a lot of people make a huge mistake by getting swept up in this Trump mania, in this Trump insanity. Donald Trump is not the causation. He is the culmination.
Yeah.
And folks really need to understand this. The United States has been heading down this track, for the sake of simple memory, since the Reagan administration. Donald Trump is the culmination of Ronald Reagan. And you can throw Bill Clinton in there, moving with the Democratic National Committee, or the Legislative Council, the Democratic Legislative Council, and Al Gore, and all of those Reagan Democrats. You can throw Barack Obama in that mix. You can damn sure throw Joe Biden in that mix. They are all part of the same horrid story. They are different chapters in the same book.
I think it's like a human body. And I often think of society like a body, because it's just
the body politic.
But I think what happens is It's kind of like if you eat cheeseburgers and ding dongs for 30 years.
Mhm.
I know that sounds weird, but
No, I know
meaning
where
the
you're
body
going.
gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker.
As
And
the
you look
body
up,
gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
yeah, 30 years
Mhm.
later, oh my God, my knees hurt, my back hurts, I'm slumped over, I got cancer.
And a heart
And
attack
it's like,
and
yeah,
clogged
and you
arteries.
have a heart attack.
Right.
Whereas you almost have to maintenance or maintain your
Mhm.
political system. And I say that in the sense of, okay, so we are going to cut taxes on the wealthy. We're going to go from 99% to 70% to 30%. And I think we're like 35% now. So the public has to take on that burden. We're going to strangle government in a bathtub. We're going to do all of these things where we're going to cut resources from society itself. And society suffers. And there's a response to that. I think you get people who are, nuts. And they think they bring somebody like Trump in because they want to shake their fists at the political system. Meaning, I think you move yourself in a worse and worse direction in the same way a person can move themselves in a worse and worse direction in a physical sense. Give me your take on that. I mean, or am I overplaying the body analogy?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because I think you have to look at your political system. You have to look at your political process as an organism. It is a living, dynamic organism. And you can either feed it nutrients and it will grow and thrive, and it will resist existential threats, or you can feed it garbage. And when you start feeding it garbage, it then turns inward and starts to feed upon itself. And that's where so part of the problem, again, this is why I keep going back to the point that Trump is not the cause, he's the culmination.
Yeah.
You don't have the rise of a Donald Trump without the complicity of the Democrats. Donald Trump did not just spring out of the ground whole cloth, especially in the 2024 election, because we knew what we were getting in 2016.
Yes.
And then he lost in 2020, right? Was that right?
Yeah,
he lost to Joe Biden, right?
He lost.
He lost in
He
2020.
sure did lose.
But the Democrats did not offer anything substantive. They offered, to stick with your analogy, they offered no nutrients.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris was not healthy to the organism. And the organism rejected that. Whether it was voting for Trump or whether it was deciding not to vote or whether it was voting Jill Stein or Dr. West, the organism rejected it. And so now we're left sick. Now we're sick. As if your democracy is an organism, your democracy. And now what does he want to do? What is the IRS now saying? That churches can be political.
Yep.
Right? Following and that's following on the oh shoot, I always forget the name of the case.
It's like the Second Amendment. I mean, not Second Amendment, the separation of church and state. Yeah.
Well, no, because that's not in the Constitution. That was just an explanation by Thomas Jefferson about why. But not shoot, the corporate case that allowed that corporations are humans and are people.
Oh.
And corporations
are people too, my friend.
Right. You know the case I'm talking about.
I know the case. I know the thing. Right. Because there are two, but everybody
begins with an S.
It'll come to me.
Right. So see all of that, those are just drops of poison into the organism. And now those drops of poison are consuming the organism because Democrats have been bought off by AIPAC and other entities, other lobbyists and other interests, such as Lockheed Martin and the military industrial complex. They're now bought off by the same benefactors that have bought off the Republicans. And that's now why they're two wings on the same bird. And that's why we can't fly anywhere. Because they're on tilt.
They're on tilt. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know I don't know a way around that in a capitalistic system. Because, the catch is with the US, if you say, okay, well, we're going to teach government in class.
Which I do.
And I think we should. I mean, because otherwise you have a political system that the public is just disconnected from.
Exactly.
Like you almost need an ideological framing in schools for kids to be involved in government and politics in a way that's in their interest.
Let me say this really quickly. I think this point is very, very important. If the Democrats were serious about change, a huge part of their message would be, what is government supposed to do? Very simple question.
Yeah.
What is government supposed to do? And they would explain it, because you can explain it in 3 or 4 sentences. And based upon those 3 or 4 sentences, they would then be providing policies that explain or demonstrate to the American people, we've told you what government is supposed to do. We've given you the roadmap, and here's how we're going to get you there. We're going to get you there through single payer. We're going to get you there through healthcare for all. We're going to fund our education. But Donald Trump told you he loves the uneducated. And he told you that for a reason. He told you, I love the uneducated. And I think that was just an offhanded quip that he stumbled upon and realized, because when he said it, what did the stupid people do? Thank you. You have now justified my stupidity. And it started with Sarah Palin.
Yes, it did. People don't remember that, but yes, it did.
Yes, it did. Sarah Palin. Now, some might tell you it started with George W. Bush. But
maybe
looking at the level of idiocy now, we wax nostalgic and poetic about if we could just get back to the good old days of W.
No.
But Sarah Palin made stupidity fashionable, chic, because she's still a very attractive woman. Wears designer. Wears designer stuff. Remember those big glasses and all that kind of? She made stupidity chic.
I was going to say in vogue, but chic works better.
Same thing.
Chic works better.
Thing. Hence, connecting the dots. That's what I do. Connect the dots.
No, I agree with you. I agree with everything you just said. I do not know how to get off this escalator. So I guess we're going to ride it down till the wheels fall off.